MDMA in the back garden, blow our pupils up. It's VGC the Video Game Podcast with me, Jordan Midler, and Chris Scullion. This week, Oblivion Remastered, Switch 2 upgrade pricing, and EAFC gets its first paid Battle Pass. But first, how's it going, Chris Scullion? How are you?
It's going well. I'm very tired. What was the MDMA one? As a straight edge man myself, I don't get the reference.
I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and my addiction is pro wrestling. MDMA in the back garden, blow our pupils up is a lyric from the new Lord song. What is that? Good little number. I'm a big fan of Lord. Ella Yelek O'Connor, to give her our government name.
I'll tell you who else is a big fan of Lord.
Who?
The Pope. God rest him.
God rest him. Can we just officially, for the continuity of this podcast, get a big God rest him out there for the Pope, for Pope Benny? I thought that was an absolute liberty, carting about his dead body, because he does not look great for a dead man. You know, you see some people at an open casket and they've clearly been formiced to death. This guy looks like an old Asda bag.
I can't decide whether, seeing as we're both good Celtic men, to raise the fact that you said Pope Benny instead of Pope Francis, or whether to let it fly.
I call him Benny because his favourite song was Benny and the Jets by Elton John.
Because he lives in Italy, and Benny means like he was the best Pope, is what you're saying. Okay.
But Frankie, as a lot of his pals call him, didn't look great in that open casket. But God rest him. I'm not a religious man, but he seemed, for a pope, as popes go, he seemed quite progressive, and he didn't seem to be like that one before, and that absolute ghoul before him that like gilded himself in gold. Frankie / Benny, who also started that chain.
Frankie and Benny's, yeah.
Yeah, he loved microwave pizza.
Frankie and Benny's was originally called John Paul II's.
Yeah.
And then they renamed it, so.
They shot white smoke out the top of the Frankie and Benny's chimney, and that's when they decided it was time to be renamed.
Get the pizza oven fired up.
Yeah. If we were a hack podcast, we would have a segment that's like, which video game character would make the best Pope? But we're not a hack podcast, so we'll just get his name wrong and talk about his dead body like a proper podcast.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all know it's Simon Belmont from Castlevania anyway, so.
True.
Because the guy's already armed with a crucifix, so we don't need to discuss it further.
My outside pick for the next Pope, Jeff Keighley. I'm hearing big things. I'm hearing summer. Let me just say, Summer Game Fest, big announcements coming.
I heard rumblings that Stevie Gerrard was coming back to be the next Pope.
Oh, they'd love that in a certain side of the city. How you doing otherwise? We're both pretty tired. It's been a hell of a week, but I'm
exhausted and I'm frustrated also because this is the definition of a first world problem.
Let's do it.
Today, the next batch of Universal Studios Japan Express passes went up, and there's something up with that website because 2 days ago I looked on their site for to see what the Express Pass situation was to prep myself, and you could basically pick a date and pick any date you want to get a pass, and basically you can get a pass that lets you skip certain rides. I'm only going for 1 day. I'm not fucking around on Mario Kart and Donkey Kong and Yoshi's, the really slow Yoshi one. I'm not.
You're just going for the Harry Potter park, in and out.
Better believe it. Stand there, do a wee pee in the corner and leave. But today at 7 a.m, apparently the next batch of passes, including the date we're going, went up. And just the entire list of things just now says sold out for every day, including the days that they were readily available. So I'm assuming that means at some point between now and then, they're all just going to get added to the site, which means I'm going to have to keep checking every bloody day now, like a hawk.
Is this an anti-Gaijin move that they're going for possibly here? Because I remember last year at Summer Game Fest, me, Andy, and Dan Robson, friend of the show from IGN Japan, were sitting in a bar in LA, and Andy was trying to book tickets to some fireworks display, and in order to book them, Dan, who obviously lives in Japan, had to phone this Japanese company and be like, speaking in Japanese. I'm not going to obviously do it because I don't speak Japanese. I know Mizu means water. It had to book it that way, and I know
Mizu's lost on me. Can't think it.
I know they're trying to cut down on tourists doing these kind of things. So
there's certainly something that's limiting the number of non-Japanese people who can go, because you can go on the actual Japanese version of the Universal Studios Japan site, because if you're in the English language site, it forwards you through a separate ticket external ticket site, and they seemingly have a limited number. If you go through the Japanese site, you can pick any date you want, and you're fine. Come on in, lads. But you need a Japanese credit card and a Japanese address, otherwise it doesn't accept your thing. So I'm using my MasterCard, so your money's no good here, Western scum. So I'm going to have to just keep an eye on it and see what happens.
On theme parks, I was looking at, I may be heading to Anaheim later this year for reasons, and I was looking at hotels around the area, and obviously everything in Anaheim is Disney themed. The entire stock and trade is getting people somewhere to stay while they go to Disney. And like I was looking at these wee motel places, and it's like, oh yeah, this looks fine, this looks fine, this looks fine. And then I was like, okay, if I have a spare day here, will I pop across the road and go to Disney? And let me tell you, the prices are unbelievable. Yeah. What kind of money must Americans make that they can take like a family of 10 to Disney for a week? I'm looking at it and it's like a day pass is $200, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's not even factoring in your Genie Plus, your lightning lanes, and all your shitey food and stuff. It's like, oh god.
That's my concern, is because we usually as a family go to Disneyland Paris every now and then, and it's very manageable. Like the worst a queue will get is an hour. Like for the really big rides. And I started looking at Tokyo Disney Sea and stuff like the Frozen ride and the Rapunzel ride, the new ones that have opened can sometimes be upwards of 2.5 hours, 3 hour queues, and I'm like, well, I'll be slapping down a tenner a skull to skip that.
Definitely.
You better believe it.
Well worth.
If I'm only there for like a Disney Sea for just 2 days, I'm not spending half of one day just waiting for a single ride.
Yeah, I think I told this story when we were in LA for Star Wars Outlaws, as has been the case since Disney got the Star Wars license. Every time there's a Disney Star Wars game, they go to the press, do you want to come to Disney? Because it obviously costs them nothing. They're just like shuffling you into the park. And we went through it and they were like, okay, because we've only got this limited amount of time, you're going through with this guide. And it was the same guides that like take celebrities and their families round so people recognize the uniform. So we're skipping these queues and stuff like that, and all these Americans are going, who is that over there? And it's just the world's assembled games press and a couple of influencers, and I was just like, hi, I'm just trying to get on the Millennium Falcon ride. It's pretty good. So that was
I'm the man who was in the Chewbacca suit in the last film.
I'm actually David Prowse's son. I'm even further replaced from the original. But I've been to Disney twice in the past 2 years, and I really, really enjoyed myself. I've not been back to the Florida one since I was a child, and that one is obviously absolutely massive because there's no more room in LA to build stuff because Anaheim's like an actual physical like living city, whereas where the Orlando one is just expanses of random boglands, so they can always add stuff.
I'm just like I'm always in turmoil when I go to these things. I'm an enormous Disney fan, but I'm also an enormous queue hater and hater of just busyness in general. It stresses me out. So like it's a dream, both the dream and nightmare location for me is a Disney park, which is why like, Paris is manageable. But so I'm looking. I know that's the thing. But I'm looking forward to my trip and also dreading the absolute carnage it's going to be.
Well, it'll be a summer full of podcast complaints. If you'd like more podcast complaints, more extra videos, podcasts, and ad-free browsing on VGC, you can check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle, just like our legendary season ticket holders did. Sarah Toto, the Good Doctor, Matt Higgins, Martimus Prime, the official VGC historian Sam Biggs, MB12, and Mark Edmonds. This week, Chris released his magnum opus, the Switch 2 London event vlog. Chris, I was on the phone to Mark Kermode earlier, and he told me that it moved him from the seat to the bathroom so he could be sick.
Oh, you cheeky bastard.
That's my wee Statler and Waldorf for you. I enjoyed that.
That's a shame because I had respect for Mark Kermode until hearing that. That's disappointing. I'm very happy with it. It was just like I deliberately overdid it with the
Don't undersell this. This is cinema.
Well, people seem to be really enjoying it, which I wasn't expecting that kind of reaction to it. But I even got a wee homage to the Breakfast Club in there. By which I mean the bit where he punches there at the end, not the bit where he rams his head into a lassie's crotch. That bit doesn't age.
Yeah, that's on onlyfans.com/videogameschronicle. Story number 1. Oblivion Remastered is out, and it's great. Chris, did you hear they're remastering Oblivion?
Are they?
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I was always more of a Morrowind man myself, but I'll take it.
Against all odds, they remastered Oblivion, against the Virtuous website putting out screenshots, against this being the most open secret in the world, against us openly discussing the release date in person like 2 months ago. The game is out. I'm really curious to see what you think about this from a kind of marketing perspective, because first of all, we'll do the game. It's all I've been playing the past couple of nights. It's great. It's still Oblivion. It is the definition of this is how you want to remember the game being back in 2006 when you first played it. It's a graphical lick of paint. We'll talk later in the show about whether it deserves the remaster or the remake title, but I think it does the business. It's really quaint in a lot of ways. The way that really made me laugh is, so obviously the game's got trophies now for the first time, because on PS3 it never had trophies, because trophies were like a later edition. And the trophies are complete the main quest, and then there's 6 side quests that all have different ranks. Complete all of those and you've got the platinum. That's all it is. There's no daft collectibles. There's nothing else. It is the most like bread and butter trophy list ever, and as such I'm going to get that platinum, because it's
I respect that trophy list like that these days. Like I don't really care about gimmicks these days. I prefer just play the game, get the credits, you're done.
See, for me, a trophy list is that, and then I'll allow them 5 like funny trophies where you do something in the game and they have a wee joke in the trophy list. But it's just so kind of, you forget how small the world is, especially in this era of like the Assassin's Creed games. We often talk about, you open the map and it's like the size of the known universe, whereas in Oblivion it's like, well, there's about 10 towns because that's all we could really do, and there's loading screens everywhere because that's all we could really do, and it's just like, it's a really enjoyable time. And as you wrote about on the site, they've kept in all the daft stuff, like the lassie reading her line twice, like all the weird line reads. Like, it was the exact perfect way to do this, in my opinion, and people seem to be thrilled about it. It's crazy to see everyone getting so into Oblivion, and it's clearly an age thing, because obviously if you're of a certain age, Oblivion was very pivotal, and it was a very important Xbox 360 game. Gersman was talking about this on his podcast. He was saying like, Oblivion was one of the first games for the 360 where it was like, oh, you couldn't actually do this last gen. You needed that extra wee bit of bump. So it's cool to see this stuff coming back.
All right, it's not. I've downloaded it, but I haven't started it yet, just because you know what this week's been like. But I'm glad it's out, and I'm glad it looks better, but they haven't messed about too much with the kind of underlying engine, because that's just. Like you say, it's people of a certain vintage who want to play it, and they want to play Oblivion. They don't want to play
cleaned up
kind
Oblivion,
of bastardized version of it. Yeah, so I'm happy people seem to be happy with it. I don't think it counts as a shadow drop, because everyone knew it's basically a daylight drop. Just like, when is it? And they just went, it's now. All right, cheers.
Let's talk about that, because so the first time this got spoken about was the court docs during Microsoft's endless try. How nice is it to not have to write about that anymore? That's something I thought about.
So I take the traffic.
Yeah, true. The court docs showed that at some point an Oblivion remake and a Fallout remake were on the cards, and obviously because documents like that in game companies change all the time. Like if that same document gets released today, there are games on it for 2029 that never get made. So people are like, okay, where are we at with this? Is this really going to happen? And then I first started hearing whispers of it last kind of November, being like, oh no, it's happening, it's Virtuous. And when they told me that, I was like, are they not making Metal Gear? Like, how many people do they actually have at this point? But they've opened a lot of studios, to be fair. And then there was kind of an assumption that it was going to be revealed at the Game Awards, because there was lots of chat on the ground there of like, this is what's happening. But then we got our Game Awards list, and it wasn't, the Game Awards awards list we got was completely correct, so it wasn't there. And then there was chat that when Xbox did its, what do they call that? Developer Direct? Is that what they call their?
The Developer Showcase Direct thing, whatever it's called.
You'll remember, Chris, they did a secret fourth game, and everyone was kind of like, well, this is probably Oblivion then, isn't it? And it turned out to be Ninja Gaiden. And then just after that, we were told a specific date, and it turned out to be true. So that's why it has been widely talked about. It wasn't even speculation towards the end. Like when we were writing stories about like the reported Oblivion remake, it was like we're covering our back here, but we really don't need to.
Yeah, it was a known secret for a long time. But yeah, I'm glad it's finally here, and it has seemingly done extremely well. It's not even the weekend yet, and it's been doing like daft numbers. I'm curious to see how the kind of maximum concurrent like peak goes on Steam this weekend when people get a chance to properly sit down with it, whether it'll overtake. I don't think it'll overtake Skyrim. Skyrim is on like 300,000 or something like that.
Oh,
the
really?
highest ever peak. And I think this hit about 180, 190,000 like a day or two after it came out. So people are going to have to really get stuck into it over the weekend for that to go up, but we'll see.
It's probably higher than Skyrim in reality because I have never understood why people would get this on Steam Deck. Okay, I take that back. Actually, Steam Deck's maybe.
Although, as I understand, it runs like an anus on Steam Deck.
Oh well, it runs like an anus on PlayStation 5 Pro as well. So that's the Oblivion experience. That's another thing. It's so authentically a Bethesda Game Studios game that most of the time when you enter a shop, all the items on the table will go and start like shaking violently, and then they'll stop because obviously the whole gimmick is. Every item you can see, you can pick up, you can move about. So that engine is always at the point of complete breakage. So, I'm absolutely loving it.
But you're right. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted your point, which was basically why are people buying it when it's on PC Game Pass. So you're right. The total concurrence is probably much higher than Skyrim ever was, but obviously we can't count the Game Pass folk either at the same time. So I would imagine, yeah, you're right. I would hope people with common sense, most people would be playing it on PC Game Pass than on Steam.
Yeah.
But
I think Bethesda will this week release some kind of like players played Skyrim, it's fucking Oblivion. This is how many people played it. Kind of non numbers story, you know. Yeah. Players touched. But yeah, it's really great. I'm playing it at the minute. I'm kind of in a that little quiet period between big reviews. Got some travel next month, so it's fallen right at the right time for me. Really enjoying it. What do you think of the shadow drop? Because I was a bit, I was maybe a bit confused as to why they would do this for this game. But I think in the context of what kind of remaster it is and how well it's done, it actually seems like quite a good decision.
It does. It was a strange date to do it though. Like to arrive 2 days before Claire Obscure,
Expedition 33 to give it its full legal
name. That's right. The black sheep of the Obscure family. Susan
it's an
Obscure
FRPG.
That's true. Our sister Susan Obscure usually is the kind of head of that family, so it's good to see Claire getting a look in. So it's weird that it came out like right before that because that's two big kind of. Although they're very different, like it's still two sizable role-playing games for people who like that sort of thing to have to choose between. But yeah, it was also weird that the day before they said, "Oh, tomorrow here's some
what
news."
Could it be?
Someone's like, "All right, so it's out tomorrow then." Yeah. Oh, we'll see. And it's like, mate, just go on, mate. So yeah, it was a weird one, but
also,
it's out now.
I respected the fact that the minute the stream started, it was up on Steam, and we wrote the story about it being out before they'd even said what it was.
It was adorable because you looked on the chat and people were like, "Please release it today, please." I'm like, mate, come on,
it's out. It's out. You could download it by now. You could
be the hero of Kvatch
already. Yeah, Fallout 3 is the next one. Really looking forward to that. I love Fallout 3. It's a game that I think is like aged quite poorly when you think about what RPGs have done since in terms of how kind of linear it can be, but the atmosphere of a Fallout game's always been more my bag, and so that'll be next. Exciting. Very last thing on this before we transition, they should stick this on Switch 2 day one. That's an absolute that's a boon of a game to have on Switch day one.
Yeah, you would imagine. It certainly. I mean, it's probably too late now. We would have heard about it by now, but it's certainly switched to at some point this year.
Yeah.
When Xbox finally steps forward and says, "Right,
here's your lot.
We're officially supporting Switch 2 with these games," that should be one of them. Because you know, at some point that there's going to be a story on the Xbox Wire blog where they'll say, "Hey guys, Switch 2 is coming out. We're going to bring out Hi-Fi Rush and." a Forza, maybe Forza, and maybe someone else. What's that?
Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves,
exactly.
Hi-Fi Rush,
Pentiment and
Forza.
Yeah, exactly. All the hits, except the big hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, Flight Sim.
I actually think to save their blushes, and I think when they announced that Halo's multi-platform, they announced it with Nintendo and then put it in very small letters that it's also coming to PS5 because that's less of a falling on your sword.
Definitely. But yeah, so I don't doubt that. I would imagine Oblivion will eventually come to Switch too, but I would imagine Xbox is waiting for a big group reveal because I don't think any Xbox game. There's one Xbox game's been confirmed, but I can't remember which one it is. I remember during the list, it was like, oh, that's so and so.
Cameo from the Xbox 360.
That was the one.
That's the only game they're getting. That and Nuts and Bolts. Hell of a game.
Fair.
Hell of a game. Story number 2. Switch 2 edition upgrades vary in cost, and Nintendo UK has revealed some pricing here. So, upgrades for Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to the Switch 2 edition, which, if you remember, these are improved graphics, better frame rate, and some, in the case of Zelda, you get the Zelda notes. Those are $7.99 a skull. However, if you have the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass, you'll get them for zilch. But we have upgrade prices for Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Super Mario Party Jamboree. Those will be $16.99. Now, Chris, this seems like a pretty clear delineation but between stuff that has like expansion style content and stuff that's more of a graphical hit. How do these prices hit you? I was kind of expecting a tenner across the board for these, so it's kind of surprising.
Yeah, I was too, but in hindsight, I was probably naive to think that. It makes sense, but I was saying this on Discord yesterday. It's an optics thing. Like if Switch 2 wasn't a thing yet, and they'd announced, oh, we're going to add a new story expansion to Kirby, and it's going to cost 16 quid, people would just be like, oh, fair enough. Nobody would have batted an eyelid. But because it's coming as part of an upgrade, I think because Xbox had stuff like smart delivery, and occasionally you'll get some PS5 games where the developer or the publisher will say, okay, you can get an upgrade for free or for a tenner. People were expecting that to be the case here. So the Zelda games are priced what I would have expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Kirby and Mario are more expensive, but again, that's because they've got that extra stuff. So I get it, but in terms of, we're at the stage now, a couple of months before launch, where people are just like looking for any opportunity to put the boot in, and a lot of it's justified. But you know what it's like with these things when the momentum starts to build, people go, okay, what's next? And they've done this, and they've done this, and they've done this. So a notable US-based journalist saying it was insane last night, and that Nintendo was nickel and diming people, which I thought was a bit over the top. It's like it's just an expansion DLC.
Was that Katie Couric?
It was. It was Tom Brokaw.
Oh. Woodward and Bernstein.
It was. But yeah, I think it's fine. It's you would always rather it was cheaper. But I understand it. It's disappointing considering how much money we're all going to be throwing at this thing at launch anyway. But I mean, they're allowed to charge what they want, I suppose.
Yeah, if you start thinking about it as being like a tenner for the graphics patch and then £7 for the new content, like it's fine. It's just because it doesn't get broken down that way. It's just like the raw price. It's a little bit weird. The test will be when Pokemon comes out, because that's the same game across both. There's no, at least no announced content differences. I assume that's also a tenner. Like the physical version will be, or like the retail version will be like £50 for Switch 1 and £60 for Switch 2.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations. Unless there's extra content there, but that would be a bit weird.
One new Pokemon, Klefki.
Yeah, because then at that point you're essentially adding day one DLC, and that's when it gets a wee bit dodgier. I can kind of justify the Kirby one because they've clearly gone back to the game and made new stuff for it. It's not been part of the original workflow, so you go, right, okay. But yeah, if Pokemon and Metroid are more than a tenner for their expansion stuff, because there's more content in there that isn't in the Switch versions. You're like, mate, that's a piss take.
I don't expect
unless it's something that's physically impossible on the Switch.
Yeah,
but what could that be? Do you know what I mean? So
I wonder if so Arceus got little kind of mini expansions through free updates. Obviously, Scarlet and Violet got full on expansions. I wonder if ZA gets expansions, if those will be switched to exclusive. But we'll see, because I still think that next year, 30th anniversary of the franchise, I imagine during the February Pokemon Presents, they announce Generation 10, and that comes out. That's next Christmas's game, of like 30 years since the release of Pokemon. So they'll probably shift focus to that rather than sticking with ZA for too long. But I think Metroid could potentially have legs. That's how she runs about. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking at the rest of the year, and this isn't a story this week because it's just a bloody release date. But Ghost of Yotei get dated for October the 2nd, and you start to put the pieces down, and you're like, it's a big year. We knew it was going to be a big year already, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of stuff to play.
Especially because, like, at this stage, we don't know everything that's on all the first party games on Switch 2 yet.
Yeah,
because we know. Obviously,
yeah.
So we know the update shit, the Switch 2 edition stuff. We know it's Mario Kart at launch. We know Welcome Tour's there. We know that in the summer we're getting Dragon Drive, and we know that later in the year we're getting Metroid and Pokemon. Other than and Donkey Kong as well.
Donkey Kong's July, isn't it? July 11th or something. Yeah.
But that leaves a big. There's a couple of months there where there's nothing, and as we've said loads of times before, when the Switch came out, Nintendo made sure it was bringing something out every single month, which means there's a couple of months here that are unaccounted for at the moment, and you got to imagine that's a summer direct type situation where they say, okay, and also here is this, and here's this, and here's this, so that it feels like they're saving a big hitter for a summer announcement and then like a November reveal, but I don't know.
I can't remember if we ever established this, but was Air Riders announced for this year? Is that a this year game?
Oh, maybe it was.
I'm going to fact check this because I think
it might have just said 2025 and nothing else. You could be right.
Yeah, Kirby Air Riders is announced for 2025. So if that say we're going July to December, let's fantasy book this. July is Donkey Kong. Yeah. Say August is
Dragon Drive because they said summer.
Okay. Then September is Metroid. October is Kirby Air Riders. November's Pokemon. And then do they do a December one? Yeah,
really, probably not.
Because I mean, it's going to be bloody difficult, bloody difficult to get one of these things at Christmas anyway. So also, I don't think you need to launch a game. Like maybe that's when you get your second pack-in bundle, because they said that the Mario Kart one might not be available for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's right. So
do a Pokemon one or something. Bundle, yeah. Although Pokemon tend to wait until they have like custom consoles to do a bundle. I bet you Pokemon Gen 10 is probably the first like custom Switch 2. I'll bloody buy one because I'm an idiot. But yeah, I think they've got a hell of a strong year. Obviously, Sony has everyone's favourite marathon, Ghost of Yotei, and then based on their kind of they've got that God of War game that's apparently coming out this year. It's not a full God of War experience. It's like a side game. I hear it's a side scroller, funnily enough, but like a 2.5D thing. Maybe it's like a Metroidvania or something like that. But who knows? Wicked Whispers. But if they have those two, that'll probably be them for the year. They don't do much more than that. And then Xbox have what have they got for the rest of the year? Because that's quite a big start.
It's had a good start, but
Outer Worlds 2 is that this year? I think Outer Worlds 2 might be this year.
It was meant to be Fable, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outer Worlds 2 is for 2025, and they're doing an Outer Worlds Direct following their Xbox Direct in June, so they'll say this is out October.
Gears isn't this year, is it? Is that next year?
It's not announced, but I think it might be this year, or maybe they would. Obviously, there's an elephant in the room that is no one knows when GTA 6 is coming out. So if during Take-Two's financials, if they go, we're punting this into the long grass, all the rats will return to the sinking ship, and I think more stuff will get peppered in this year. But yeah, I think
there's a lot of stuff floating about without a release date yet,
and
it could be 2025 or 2026 depending on what Rockstar decides. So we'll see how that goes.
It's so funny to see the people working out the GTA release date based on where Borderlands and the basketball game is and Mafia. They're like, okay, if we release a game in there, they're not going to release GTA because they've got Mafia, so we can slide that in there, and then at the end they've got Borderlands, so we can slide that in there.
I'll tell you what, I'm up for Mafia. Mafia's going to be better.
I think
that's my jam.
Yeah,
that's my jam.
That's your Sicilian jam. Another Switch one before the break. Furukawa came out here and said, "This is Furukawa." And said a significant number of Japanese players will miss out on the Switch 2 lottery after 2.2 million players applied on the My Nintendo store alone. They said that the demand way outstripped what they expected, and they're trying to pump up their pipeline. Let me tell you, Chris, the way this has gone around the world, I feel blessed to have my pre-order squared away and had zero issues getting one. It's kind of crazy how I saw it. I didn't read it. I assume we'll do it later on, but Bloomberg there was a story on Bloomberg projecting that it's going to be like 8 million consoles at launch, and it's going to be the biggest video game console launch of all time. It's crazy out there. People want this Nintendo.
I don't doubt it, especially if 2.2 million are trying to get it through Nintendo's Japan website alone. That doesn't count all the ones that are going to be queuing up outside the Yodobashi camera.
Outside Don Quixote, did they even sell Switch 2s?
Oh, hey, listen, they better believe it. They probably sell the kind of dodgy ones with the bootleg games on. It's going to be crazy. I saw someone on Twitter, like, so people that will take any opportunity to score a fanboy win. I saw some Nintendo fan on Twitter last night saying 2.2 million in Japan already try to buy it, and total lifetime sales for Steam Deck is only 3 million. I'm like, mate, nobody was ever trying to suggest that the Steam Deck was going to compete with Switch 2. Just shut up. It's taking that as a win. We'll take that Steam Deck.
Yeah, I'm hearing Valve's in trouble. I'm hearing that's going to be them humped.
Gabe Newell's like booting the doors and saying, fucking make something. They're going to beat us finally. But it's exciting. You're right. It's going to shift. It kind of puts all the moaning about price into kind of perspective, because they could have charged even more for this thing, and it was going to fly out the door because Switch was such a big success that Nintendo know they've built this. They've got this kind of goodwill now, which is slowly dwindling. The more kind of odd decisions they make, but for now, people are just like grudgingly handing their money over. It's not at the stage yet where people have said, I refuse to pay that, and putting their foot down. They're like, yeah, okay. That's frustrating, but okay.
See, when they get back into the game of releasing video games and they're not dealing with launching a console, this will all be fine. They're just stumbling because they're doing something they've not done in a long time, and it's a brave new world for them, and they're making a bit of an arse of it. It's being made a bigger arse by people who are like bad actors and stuff like that, but it's not been handled particularly well. However, when the thing's out and it's just games, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's been messy. The messiness has been down to a number of factors. Like I think one big factor is that the Switch came from Wii U. Yeah. And Wii U was a complete like bomb site.
God rest it.
God rest it indeed. So the fact that they were going from discs to cartridges made people happy. The fact that it was going from region locked to region free made people happy. There was a lot about Switch that made people go, yes, well done, good for them, blah, 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 blah. Now they're going to Switch 2, and any kind of tweaks they make are making people go, So like, and even some of it's just down to human error that they've messed up themselves, and that's just sloppy shit. Like for a while on the Switch 2 editions of the Zelda games, there was a thing at the bottom saying that it didn't support cloud saves, and everyone's like, what, how can you not? And then they took that bit off, because obviously that was just like a template issue, and apparently it does support cloud saves. So they're not helping their case by making a load of wee daft blunders like that. But just every bit, it's like the key card thing seems to have basically opened the doors for third parties to go, we're going to spend as little money as possible on manufacturing these, because it's not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, for Switch, you could buy some games that were just a code.
NBA was something that was like, I think the NBA cart was like a couple of gigs, and then the whole thing was like 50 or something like that.
Yeah, and then some of them didn't even have a cart. Some of them just had the code in an empty box, which is a piss take. But I think I did a story earlier this week. It's like 11 when the pre-orders went up in Japan. The Yodobashi site put up like 11 third-party games, and all 11 of them are these game key card things, which means none of them have the game on the cartridge.
Isn't Cyberpunk the only exception?
Cyberpunk is going to have the game, and apparently that Daemon X Machina in the West has it, but in Japan it doesn't. So in Japan it's a key card, and in the West it's the full game apparently, which is quite odd. The thing I was worried about, and I said this on Twitter, is that I love the region-free element of the Switch. I love the fact that you can literally just create a Japan account and just switch between them. And
my Japanese account is called Johnny Japan.
As it very well should be. And the fact that Nintendo's like, listen, and you come, like, where are you from, mate? And you go, Japan? And they go, come on in. And then you just like, basically rinse the eShop in Japan. I'm worried how that's going to go with Switch 2 because I don't think they're daft enough to turn down to close that kind of access. But at the same time, like the last time I was in Japan, I got a really cheap copy of Theatrhythm, the last Theatrhythm they made, and I bought the Nintendo World Championships, the Japanese version of that, and played it on the way home because when you put a Japanese card in, it changes it to English automatically. These key card games, what's going to happen there? Are they going to send you to the Japanese eShop? In which case, if you don't have an account, they go no. Or from what people are saying, is it going to take you to a separate download thing, which is separate from the eShop, where it just takes you straight to a download link that downloads the game, in which case that would be fine. So there's some unknowns there.
Telling you that's a story. As soon as we can get our man in Japan, Dan Robson, or Andy will probably be still in Japan at that point, and we'll get we'll get that checked out. There's a lot of interesting little things like that. I agree. I hope it's that easy. Like even if they do like the security theater of making it as hard as it is on PlayStation, where you need to like Google what's an address in New Zealand to put into your account for that to work. Like that's fine. But yeah, the openness of it was exciting at the Switch launch when the Japanese eShop was available, because there was like one or two games on the Japanese eShop that we didn't get immediately, like random Mahjong games and stuff like that. I was like, oh, we'll get that.
I want to say like a Disgaea game or something came out in Japan like 2 months earlier as well, and because of that instant translation thing, if you bought it, you got the English language version like right away. I was like, this is dream stuff.
I wonder if they ever close those regional loops, because every time there's a new COD or a FIFA, we do a story about the quote-unquote New Zealand method, which has been around for 40 years at this point, where on an Xbox, if you set your region to New Zealand, the console goes, yep, sound, and gives you access to digital games when they're out in New Zealand, which is often 11 a.m. on the Thursday before the Friday release. Wonder if they ever stop that, or if they're just like, the only people doing this are really engaged customers and would rather have them than not have them. So
that's the thing. You're setting yourself up for a PR disaster if you do it. You're as well just going, okay. Especially because with the Switch, Nintendo made a big deal during the presentation of saying this is region free now.
Yeah.
So when people were kind of easily going in the Japan eShop, they had to just kind of go, all right, enjoy, lads, and just make sure that the kind of pricing structure was similar across the board. So I'm hoping there'll be. I noticed that I think they recently made it so that Western credit cards don't work, but then that's just a case of going on one of those sites that sell eShop cards.
The Silk Road.
Topping up your thing. So all good. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an exciting couple of months. If you'd like more excitement, patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, and we'll see you after this. VGC and VGC the Video Game Podcast is supported by Patreon. Check out patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle for more podcasts, more videos, and ad-free browsing on the website. Thank you for your support. And we are back. EA Sports FC 25 has received its first ever paid battle pass. Don't worry if you're not an FC person, we're not really going to be talking about the game. This has been a long time coming. The Season 7 Premium Pass costs 500,000 in-game coins, or 1,000 FIFA points, which is roughly a tenner or £8 if you have EA Play, whatever that subscription is called. There are 40 tiers to the pass, and it runs concurrently with the free pass, which has always been kind of part of the FC games for the past couple of seasons. The bonuses are extra packs, extra cosmetic items, and extra special in-game cards, in-game players. The notable thing here is that no virtual currency will be offered as part of the season pass, which has become kind of standard in at least COD and Fortnite, where if you complete the battle pass, you earn enough in-game currency to get the next battle pass, which is obviously an engagement tool, and people seem to be pretty on board with that. So realistically, you buy one for money, or you get one at the start of the year for as part of the COD Deluxe Edition, and you keep going. The wrinkle being that you're getting tradable packs as part of this season pass, which could theoretically generate you coins. But as we know, Chris Scullion, packs are only ever theoretical. And with the Team of the Season Crash, I struggle to see how you're making 500,000 coins out of this season pass. What do you think about it? I am shocked it's taken them this long to put it in.
It's taken a while to get to this point. I admittedly reinstalled in.
Oh, I got it
back on that game last night, and I got it as well because I was like, I totally went cold turkey like a couple of months ago and thought I've hit that wall where all my players are like. All my Celtic Evolved team were like 89, 90 and like hitting that kind of that bar. And all the players I was getting in weren't better than the main team I had. So I was like, I'm just playing this game and selling folk. I'm not actually making any progress here. I'm done. I've hit my limit. As soon as I saw this thing and just like a 96 rated and there's like a bunch of 90 rateds in there, I'm like, okay. So I went back in it. I forgot I had like 800,000 coins. Like that I had accrued, so it kind of essentially didn't cost me. And so yeah, I'm kind of back in it again. So fair play to them. And since then, there's been loads of Evos that will theoretically bring a lot of my other Celtic players up to like 92, 93. So I could have a shit hot Celtic team by the end of the week.
Yeah,
next week.
I was getting towards the point of getting now. Like I played a lot during Foot Birthday. I had a lot of kind of luck there with packs and stuff like that, and then just as I was starting to leave off, I packed 94 rated striker Gareth Bale, which is when I packed him it was 5 million coins, which is by about 4.5 million the most expensive player I've ever packed. So I was like, well, and he is one of those players that like pro players use, so it completely changes the game for you. It becomes a total joke. So I'm really back in at the moment. Obviously Team of the Season's coming up. I think that it's an interesting one because this feels like a testing ground for when FC 26 comes out. They're launching with this. They're definitely. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the first season pass is part of the Ultimate Edition, and then it just you can potentially keep going. I like the Battle Pass concept in a lot of games, and with FIFA being the game that I play the most, I like having more to do. I always hit level 40 in the Battle Pass about 2 weeks before it refreshes, and then it annoys me there's not an infinite kind of higher level where you're only getting like they can't do custom rewards all the way up, but every level give me like 50k or something like that. Give me something, a random pack. So more stuff like that's cool. I hope that they manage the balance. Obviously the level 40 is a 96 rated Frank Ribery who's going to be unbelievable, but Team of the Season will have unbelievable cards at cheap prices, so as long as they manage that, that's kind of fine. And 500,000 coins, not hard to get these days, especially at this point in the season. And a tenner, that's kind of what everyone's charging. So,
yeah, I'm with you. Like we're at the point now, and people call this Stockholm syndrome if they want, but it's ironic that Oblivion's out this week at the same time as this launches, because obviously Oblivion was the infamous horse armor situation where at the time they had the gall to charge, was it 4 or 5 quid for a bit?
I think it was less than that. It was like 320. It was Microsoft. Do you remember the Microsoft points either? That was great.
That's right. So it was like 400 points or something like that. And people were like, this is disgusting. This is the fuck what?
That was the beginning of the end of video games. It was.
And now you look how far we've come, and just like it's actually laughable that the horse armor. We got to the point where Multiverses was charging 20 quid for a single like fighter skin, and you're like, this is a piss take now. So yeah, I'm in terms of what games generally charge for cosmetics and even pay to win stuff, as this essentially is. the idea of a battle pass where, in terms of value for money, you get quite a lot for your money as long as you're willing to put the work in for it. I'm cool with that. I particularly like when games don't put a timer on it. Like 2K do that with the Lego Drive one and Top Spin as well, I think, where every new season it sticks around. So if you don't finish the season in time and then the next season comes out, you can just keep going on the one you're on until you finish it and then start the next one. So there's no like FOMO of you like, oh, if I'm not hitting level 40 in time, I'm not going to get that rebooty. They'll be like, don't worry, just do it in your own pace and you'll just be behind everyone else. So I'm up for. I'm not as against it as with some other things. I subscribe to the Fortnite one now. The thing for that. Tell you what, listen.
Here we go.
I'm a changed man. So
being a carpenter update.
Listen, hobby honey. But I did the. I've always said I don't like online battle royale type stuff, and I got into Fortnite for, as I've said before, the music game,
for the articles.
Game. Yeah, exactly. Music game, racing game, and I maintain that the music bit Fortnite Festival is stunning. It's your new harmonics guitar,
man. Yeah, you can't complain.
But last night I thought I'm going to try Battle Royale because one of the kind of you can play user-made Fortnite experiences, and one of them is like a weird Turtles, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roguelike, essentially, where you put your character through a bunch of rooms and shoot wee Mousers and foot soldiers, as in Turtles ones, not Nazis, and you kind of gain experience points and stuff. I'm like, I'm quite good at shooting in this old Fortnite. I'm going to jump online in the Battle Royale and see how it goes, because my fear about these things is that if you haven't been playing these forever, you're just going to get picked off. Like Call of Duty, I'll never play online, because as soon as I step foot in that arena, I'm just going to get gunned down like in a shower of blood. I'm holding my own in like Battle Royale because of this Turtles thing helping me with my aiming. I'm hitting like ranks like 20 odds out of 100, which for a newcomer's not bad going. Not bad going.
It's going to be an absolute Fortnite sweat soon enough. Screaming in this podcast.
I'll be flossing before we know it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of flossing, let's floss some reader questions between our gooch. Start off, Shay. These questions come from the Discord. You can get the VGC Discord link on our Patreon, or it's on our socials and on the website. Shay, whose fault is it when someone gets walked in on in the toilet, the person who didn't lock the door or the person who didn't knock before entering? My wife is insistent knocking is more important than locking, so please, VGC crew, save my marriage. If you're going to the toilet and you're not locking the door, I don't know what's wrong with you. If you've not got a guarantee that there's no one else in the house, I'm always a locker.
Yeah, you're asking for it. There's a compromise there, I suppose, in a sense where you have to lock it. That's non-negotiable. But at the same time, if you come up to the toilet door and it's closed, whether that's locked or not, I'm knocking it.
Don't boot it off the hinges.
No, don't just like shoulder in and go, hey, I hope nobody's shouting in here.
Yeah.
Like if your door's closed, I'm knocking it, regardless of whether it's locked. So I think
if the door's closed, I'm knocking it.
Exactly. That's my live, laugh, love. So I think there's a two-way. I think both is the right answer, but certainly lock it. If you lock it, then the problem's solved.
Yeah,
unless the onus of protecting your anus is on you to lock the door. Unless
Mrs. Shay's sat there with a lock picking device trying to like get the door knocked completely down. But yeah, lock the door. Lock the door. Come on. Kanaj, don't know, can't pronounce it. Jim says, people were complaining about the price of the Switch 2 games, but over the last 2-3 years, we saw over 20,000 job losses in the video game industry. Surely the price increase is necessary to avoid that. Games could be smaller or look less good, but I think that the launch of a new console, smaller and shitter, is a hard sell. That's funny. Everything has to get more expensive. Companies have to make more money. The actual fault for this lies at the C-suite, and the fault lies at the feet of capitalism. Let me introduce you to Karl Marx. I think that the passing the savings on to the consumer is a hard thing to swallow, and obviously we can make the arguments till the cows come home about how games have never been cheaper. But the real issue is that wages have not gone up at the same rate as everything else. thus making it feel like a sting directly on to the consumer from these games companies. So while they can probably justify putting the price up, consumers will never feel that it's justified because it's them that's getting the shaft on the end of it.
You get that. You got the tariffs are going to like make an interesting kind of impact. I say interesting, potentially depressing impact coming up. But I think the publishers would absolutely love more questions like that one saying, "Oh, surely the price increase like justifies like
I'd pay any price.
If we put the money up, then people won't get sacked anymore." The reason so many jobs have been lost in the games industry is because obviously there's been numerous reasons, but budgets are too high. Budgets have been made too high and they've become unsustainable. Where certainly during COVID, we've discussed this numerous times. During COVID, lots more people were playing games. So publishers who weren't forward thinking enough went, "Oh, games numbers have shot up. Let's throw all our money at games while there's a boom." So people will buy all our games and all our live services and stuff like that. And then obviously COVID ended and everyone went back outside again and people played less games, and all those many millions and millions and millions of pounds they've been putting into game development, they just went, "Oh shit, we're kind of not making that money back. We need to make cuts." So it's their own ruddy fault for not being forward thinking enough. That's one of a million reasons. That's simplifying it to the point of ridiculousness. But I certainly wouldn't let them away with saying we're putting prices up to stop people getting the sack. I think they should be a bit more. I think some companies should be a bit more kind of sensible with budgeting, and it should never have got to that situation.
Yeah,
potentially.
Put wages up. Put wages up. Put wages up. Kurt Starr, Ryan Cobain. With the heft of power of the Switch 2 reportedly has, will the Switch 2 put Nintendo back in the console war with the other consoles, or will Nintendo still keep their place in the niche they've carved out for years following the Wii, where they won the console war? People that still think there's a console war are like that Japanese soldier that was found on an island like 25 years after it finished. There is no console war. There is Nintendo consoles. There is your Nintendo, and then there is PlayStation versus Xbox, where Xbox is the biggest third-party publisher in the world, and PlayStation's the best-selling modern console by an absolute mile. So there's no fight whatsoever. These companies aren't trying to one-up each other. Like Microsoft is putting games on absolutely everything. They're in the publishing business now. They will continue to probably make an Xbox for people that like the Xbox brand. They'll probably make a nice Xbox, but it's not going to be a focus. Like if you think that the next Xbox is getting the big competitive push that they last had, like I suppose they rolled the dice with Series X, but it's not. The war is over. Go home, you know.
It's like everyone is happy with their niche.
Yeah,
like Nintendo were doing their own thing and just absolutely raking it in. PlayStation has quote unquote won in terms of like hardware sales, like you say, and they've established themselves as a company that makes really good kind of first party games, except for Gran Turismo 7. And then Xbox will look at their bottom line and be perfectly happy with the change of the change of stance, the change of focus that they've implemented. They'll be like, listen, we're raking it in as well. All three companies are very happy with their bottom lines, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. I don't think the power of Switch 2 puts it back in competition like Ryan Cobain. I think the days of Nintendo being as powerful as other consoles go back to the days when your dad was still alive. God rest him. I know
Kurt got on the skag.
I know Kurt maybe had a Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and I couldn't tell the difference between the two. But I think Nintendo will always be happy now, just being slightly less powerful. Or significantly less powerful than their rivals, and just raking in the cheddar.
Yeah, that's not where the battles aren't fought there anymore. It's not a thing. And look, I'm not accusing Ryan of being a console warrior. This is a side point. I was there in the PS3, Xbox 360 days, and let me tell you, I loved it. I was 14 once. Being a wee bastard on the internet was great fun, but it's over. It's gone. There's no There's no fight anymore.
Imagine if this was somebody's first episode of the VGC podcast and they think I've just slagged a guy for his dad dying. We're not realising that his surname is, his username is Cobain, and our running joke is that he's Kurt Cobain's son.
Yeah.
And people will just think I'm a heartless bastard.
If you go on patreon.com/Video Games Chronicle, we'll release a bonus podcast explaining all of our jokes. So if they've made it past the Dead Pope stuff to this point, I think they're made of sterner stuff. Welcome, new listeners.
God rest them.
On YouTube, if you are actually listening to this for the first time, put a comment down below. And if you're listening to it for the millionth time, put a comment down below. Talk about my baldy head. I don't care. It's about. That's what engagement.
And if you're going to make fun of our accents, you can shove it down below.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a really good one. Thanks.
Yeah.
Next question from Ben Starr. Not that one. Looking at Expedition 33, there's no VGC review for it, which is fine, but it's on track to become a banger of a game that everyone is currently reviewing highly. What was the reason to skip a review of it? Do you ever make that decision to get it reviewed to jump on the bandwagon? So this is this new RPG everyone's talking about. You may have noticed no VGC review. Simple answer: we didn't get a code for it. It's the publisher's prerogative whether or not they send us a code, and it just didn't happen on this occasion. I'm glad it's reviewing very well. Friends of the show, Skill Up and Lucy James and Jake Baldino talking absolutely glowingly about it. But for something like that, is usually just an answer like that, or it's a time thing. Like, reviews don't make any money and they're really hard to produce and take a lot of time, so it's not, especially when you notice it's just two of us this week and next week, it's hard to fit that kind of stuff. And
that's the thing in terms of the question, do we ever make the decision to review it to jump on the bandwagon? Like, no. Usually by the time it comes out and it starts getting good review scores, it's too late. Because especially an RPG like that, you can't turn that around overnight. That's another week at least playing it, writing it up, by which point everyone's moved on. No one's looking for reviews for it anymore because everyone's playing it at that point, especially because it's on Game Pass. So our review is like a piston in the ocean at that point. As opposed to piston in a puddle, which is like when the embargo lifts.
Yeah, it's all piss.
What I'm saying is an embargo, and review embargoes are a puddle of piss.
But yes, I would recommend checking out the FPS podcast for their thoughts on it. But no review coming from us. That doesn't obviously discount it at the end of the year when we're talking about Game of the Year stuff. I will go and play it, not least of which because obviously it stars friend of the show and friend of the actual us, Ben Starr. But we will see. We didn't not review it because Ben is our friend. I have no qualms giving a Ben Starr game a terrible score because that's what he deserves. But yeah, no big conspiracy there. Before we go, we have a new segment. We teased this last week. This is Remake or Remaster Court. If you remember, we have had lots of discussions on this podcast on what is a remake and what is a remaster, so we're turning it on to the listeners. Each week, one listener will present a game and make their case that it is or is not a remake or a remaster, and the judges, which are the assembled podcast crew, will say if they are free to go, no further charges, or if they have to be hung by the feet until death. The first defendant is Mark, who says, Oblivion Remastered is a remaster because the game underneath is the exact same as the 2006 game, although it has some quality of life enhancements. That's all they are. Gameplay, art, voice acting, and musical enhancements. It still plays like a game from 2006, and we wouldn't want it any other way. I cross now to court judge Malud Triskelion. What do you think of this argument that Oblivion Remastered is a remaster?
Thanks for having me. This is a difficult one because it's right at the very edge of what could be considered a remake because almost every element of it has been redone. It's a new engine. Like it's in Unreal 5 now. There's been new voiceovers for it. Almost all the character and the kind of world models have been recreated. The textures are new. The gameplay's been changed a bit. The music's been changed. Every element of this game somebody has worked on it. So by definition, for me, a remaster is bumping up some quality and it's still the same game. But like Mark says, the underlying game is the same game as exhibited by that blooper still being in it and stuff like that. So
all the level up bugs are still there. If you pick a lock and you just do the first one and then smash A, you fire up levels. Like, it's got all that crap still under the hood.
So it clearly is the base game underneath. So in which case, borderline, I would say it just counts as a remaster.
I tend to agree that it's very much on the borderline. I feel like a remake would have changed more. You wouldn't be able to feel all the jitter underneath, like I said earlier about when you go into a shop and all the items start levitating. That's the kind of stuff
Remake would have changed that.
Yeah, that gets ironed out in a remake, or really awkwardly tried to be recreated, but you can tell that you're still playing a game from that early. Although I think it's still technically the same engine they're using now. It's just been completely Frankensteined on top of. But I think we're mostly in the remaster, in the remaster camp. I also think that there's like the game's map is quite low res. I think it's the same map from like the original game, just dragged up. And I feel like it feels like the NPCs have just been put through a filter. Like, they still have really weird eyes and proportions and hair and all this stuff. So it feels like it has been filtered rather than hand remade, which makes me think that it is in fact a remaster.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, some. I think where people get, and sometimes I as well get tied up, is like when developers actually start putting their hands on it and start creating new assets for it. That's the point we start going, is this just a remaster? But there are levels of that. So you look at Super Mario 3D All-Stars, when Mario Sunshine was on that. Most of the game was just the GameCube game, but kind of upscaled to like a higher resolution. The cutscenes were quite clearly just run through an awful AI upscale and were like awful. But the UI, so like the energy bar at the top and the coins and stuff, were redrawn. So those were brand new assets presented in HD. But no one would ever argue that was a remake. That's blatantly still a remaster. So at that point, the rule becomes a remaster can still involve someone manually creating new assets for it, as long as the underlying game underneath it is untouched. And I think there's just about enough of the wee spirit of Oblivion is still there to justify this being a remaster.
Mark,
case closed.
You're free to go. No further charges. If you'd like to submit an entry to Remake or Remaster Court, you can do so on the VGC Discord. There's a lot of them already in there that we'll be picking from, but I'll pick one that interests me every week, and we'll take it to this esteemed panel. And by the end of this podcast, we will have established which every single game is, a remake or a remaster. Sam B, official VGC historian, I need a new spreadsheet made up. It's only going to have one entry on it this week. Oblivion Remastered, officially a remaster, passes with 2 votes. 2 votes to none, because there's no one else here to dissent. What are you up to this weekend, Chris? I'm going to play Oblivion Remastered.
Very good. I'm going to, on the Patreon, we're going to start a new series called Chris's Backlog, where I've mentioned numerous times in the past that I've got a backlog that dates back to the Xbox 360 days. Because at Official Nintendo Magazine, I would get 360 games in as well, but I was always too busy reviewing a Wii game or a DS game and just put it on the backlog. A DS
RPG.
Exactly. And so that backlog has continued like for the nearly 20 years since. So I've decided that once a week I'm going to take a game from the backlog and put a couple of hours into it to see what it's like and kind of fill my gaps in my knowledge.
Do we know what we're kicking off yet?
I'm thinking, because of current events, that Assassin's Creed 2 is probably a good one to do.
Oh, that's a great game.
Because I believe the Pope plays a role in it.
He plays a significant role in
it. Not Benny or Frankie.
Yeah.
Or indeed
Stevie.
John Paul II. But it's Pope Stevie, I believe, is involved in it. So yeah, I think that's one. I only recently finished the first Assassin's Creed last year. Although I have played Black Flag and loved it. I've completed Black Flag when it came out. That was the only one I'd played. So
Are you playing the Xbox 360 version, or are you playing the PS4 remake?
Probably going to play the remaster one just because I've got easier access to that. Otherwise, I need to dig my 360 out.
The 360 one runs like absolute shite. Just play the PS4 version.
Yeah, so I think I'll do that. So yeah, I'll probably do that. That'll be on Saturday. Sunday, I'm back to London again for a US visa because apparently we might be going to America in a couple of months' time for something.
Who could say? We're going to America for the Switch 2 launch party, and that's it. Going to America so that the energy drinks of Summer Game Fest can continue. You need to. I'm going to really need you to pull your weight during the energy drinks of Summer Game Fest 2025. We're going to be in that 7-Eleven every single morning.
Consider it pulled.
Absolute shite.
Okay, track down Doug Bowser and try and get some patter out of him.
Yeah, I doubt
the guys. He's in a perfect position here to put on a charm offensive.
Yeah,
and. So far,
just turn out offensive. It'll turn out like the roast of WrestleMania. By the way, our WrestleMania 41 review is up now. Thank you very much for watching. Check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle for tons of extra podcast videos and to support VGC during these turbulent games media times. Until next time, say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye, Chris.
And we'll see you next week.